everyone, and welcome back to 21 Minute Reads with me, Maya D. In these 5 minute or so videos, I share with you my takeaways from my current reading, which right now is The Black Dancing Body by Brenda Dixon Gottschalk. As a part of the Read 21 and 21 challenge, I'm reading 21 minutes per day as a way of practicing self-love, as a way of providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. So you might notice that my background looks a little different, but I'm actually just in a different corner of the same room. I needed a subtle change, but not a drastic one. This week, I read pages 208 through 225, and here are my takeaways. So in this portion of the book, Brenda Dixon Gottschalk, is finishing that geography of the body that began with the feet, moved up to the booty, covered the skin, and finishes with the hair. And that's where my first takeaway comes from. Takeaway number 1, wool as a tool. So this is an example of nomenclature used as a tool to dehumanize bodies. At times, enslaved people were not allowed to refer to their hair as hair, but had to refer to it as wool. By the 1850s, Peter A. Brown rationalized that since this was wool growing from their bodies, then these bodies were not actually human. This made me think of my time in high school in history where the transatlantic slave trade was discussed and the methods that led up to it, thought methods that led up to it, were also discussed in my class. And one of the things that the teacher pointed out was the Bible was used as a tool to justify and the invitation of slavery. And it was also acknowledged by a cardinal that since these people in West Africa were not Christians, they did not have to they didn't fall under the safety net of people that were included in the Bible. But it made me think of the Bible in and of itself, where Jesus Christ is described as having hair of wool and skin of bronze, which then makes me think that if that's the case, then why are people that have the same characteristics as the Savior not identified as human? And if they're not human, then what are they? Just a question. But it's going to take me to my second takeaway, which is a quote from the book, and it is, "Spirit heals soul." So BDG offers this idea or reminder, however you want to state it, that societies and cultures that identify humans as not the controlling forces of the universe exhibit a certain level of vulnerability in their performances. In this case, she's specifically speaking of, or goes in to speak of, cultures that include movement as a form of worship, where movement is an extension of religion and spirituality. And in these communities, movement is done as a way to connect with the universe. And there's also this idea of embodiment of those celestial beings. So I am connecting, my movement connects me to the universe and all that is there, but it also connects me to everything that is there. Which takes me to takeaway number 3, which is also a quote from the book. Not one word for secular. Wyatt T. Walker, who is a pastor of a church in Harlem, New York, United States, and holds his PhD in ethnomusicology, acknowledges that there are more than 1,000 languages spoken in Africa, and none of them have a word for the Western concept of secular. And that is because in these spaces, spirit, soul, God, and the tangible world are all interrelated. They all connect. They all inform one another. So now I'm going to jump back to something that was discussed throughout the book, throughout this reading, and in my classes. In vernacular dance practices, through movement, values and ideologies are passed on from one generation to the next. So as a descendant of the African diaspora, these ideas still live in my movement. So these ideas of interconnectability, or however you phrase that, are still there. So I'm going to end this section with a quote from Brenda Dixon Gottschalk that kind of reminds me of something I said earlier about that feeling something when you watch these performances. And that quote states, "Soul/spirit is a shared experience and radiates outward, pulling in the spectator and trespassing the space between audience and performer. If I am connected to the universe, then I am connected to you. And through my movement, you will feel that connection." And I hope that you stay connected by liking, subscribing, dropping some comments in there so that we can stay connected as community. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in next week's video.